Hi, Chris here. This is Kerbal Engineer's Redux. Kerbal Engineers is a mod meant to make it a little bit easier to plan your Kerbal Space Program missions. It has lots of features. The easiest to understand and the most important are delta V and TWR. TWR is thrust to weight ratio. In simplest terms, delta V tells you where you can reach, and TWR tells you if you've got enough thrust to make it off the launch pad. Delta V means change in velocity. With the help of this useful map, which can easily be found by googling KSP 1.1 delta V map, make sure to include the 1.1. Older versions of the map were a little bit different. So you can see that if you have, say, enough delta V in your first two stages to make low orbit, which the map is going to tell us takes around 3,400 delta V. One thing to watch out for when you're doing that is your first stage is going to be pushing through the heavy lower atmosphere. So be sure to press the little atmospheric button when measuring delta V, and it should correct for most of that, just for your first stage. When you reach higher altitudes, it becomes far less of an issue. So from this you can tell that if you've got a ship in orbit, it's going to take another 950 delta V to get outside of Kerbel's sphere of influence. This is the area where the planet actually influences you directly. From there it's going to take another 130 delta V to transfer to Duna. 250 to get from a flyby of Duna into an orbit of Duna, then say 30 to transfer to Ike, 180 to transfer into orbit of Ike, and 390 to land on Ike's surface. So we've got probes setting out to land on Ike from orbit of Kerbal. It's going to take 1,930. So if you are just starting out, you want a little bit more than that. Leave a bit of room for mistakes, and a little less if you're experienced and can do a direct transfer to Ike. So the other key piece of information is TWR. TWR of under 1 on Kerbal surface means that you simply won't take off. Your rocket's gonna sit there, burn its engines, and not be able to lift off the launch pad. It's an easy thing to correct for on Kerbal's surface. You just go back into the hangar, add another thruster, and up you go. But it's very useful. You can change which body you're comparing it to. So if you've got a little lander that you want to land on the moon, you can check with this if you've got enough thrust to actually take off the surface of the moon. There's nothing worse than putting a tiny rocket, slightly too tiny, upon your lander and finding you can't get off the surface again. Your target for TWR should be around 1.5 plus for an efficient takeoff. Another thing to watch out for is when you're doing your orbital insertion burn. If you've got a very low thrust to weight ratio in the stage where you're trying to make your orbit, then it can take too long to burn, and you end up slowly falling while your engine's burning. You re-enter the atmosphere and it all becomes a mess. So when you're doing your orbital insertion, you don't want your TWR to become too low for that. So these are the key features of Kerbal Engineer's Redux. It does have other features that you may find useful, but really you've got to understand and master these core features, and it's really going to help you in your planning of other missions.